Who's got it better than us?
Your home for the best sports coverage in Utah. You're listening to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone. Ben Anderson continues to be on vacation. Never you fear, all you Ben Anderson fans out there. He's going to be back on Friday. Is that the rumor, Christian?
I think that's what I heard.
Okay, so we'll look forward to talking to Ben. Then you can join us coming up on Wednesday, that's tomorrow, at the Bar W Beef pop-up event at the IFA in Spanish Fork. And when I say us, I mean Hans and Scotty. Yes, if you write it on that read, I will, or on that doc, I will read it. Join Hans and Scotty at the Bar W Beef pop-up event at the IFA in Spanish Fork from noon to 3. Your chance to stock up for those summer barbecues with premium Bar W Beef meats. See you at the IFA in Spanish Fork for the Bar W Beef special pop-up sale. And when I say see you, I mean they will see you, not I will see you. Hans and Scotty will see you.
We'll be there in spirit.
Oh, I butchered that. All right, Christian. Unions are in the news a lot. We have a Bozo of the Week candidate from the NFL Players Union, where their head expensed some trips to some tawdry places and got in trouble and had to resign. The NFL Players Association is right in the middle of a collusion scandal too, which is interesting, where the players are going to win, or excuse me, the owners are going to win that because the owners always win because the NFL Players Union is terrible. And did you see, Christian, that the former head of the Players Union who went to those tawdry establishments and decided that he would write them off as business expense them as business expenses, that he had sexual misconduct in his past at his previous company, and the NFLPA knew about it before they hired him. They just did not care. They're like, crazy. yeah, we had this come up in a background check, and apparently the guy explained himself, like, oh, that was nothing, and they still hired him. Like, it's, unions are a really funny thing, obviously. Not a funny ha-ha thing, but funny, and there's a lot of nuance with unions. People bring up unions and say, oh, I'm either for or against, and it lacks a lot of nuance. There's some really great unions. There's some unions that don't function all that well. But there are also some really necessary unions, and conceptually speaking, I think unions do a lot of good. It just is a lot more complex. And the NFL Players Union, I think, is extremely necessary. And they are terrible. They are terrible. I mean, if you look at the Players Association, it's just awful. If you look at what the collusion is all about, it's all about not giving fully guaranteed contracts to quarterbacks, and how the owners are basically telling each other, stop it. Stop giving these
after
fully
the Deshaun Watson contract.
Yeah, you're screwing us all. Stop it. Stop giving those deals. And it was actually the Rusty Wilson extension with the Broncos was the one that broke the trend.
He was the next big quarterback after Deshaun Watson, and they stood up and said, you know what, we're not going to continue this.
Right, we're not going to give you the fully guaranteed deal. And Kyler Murray was at the same time, and there's text messages out there between the owner of the Chargers and the owner of the Cardinals, and the owner of the Chargers is going, hey, thanks for not giving that deal, because we've got Justin Herbert coming up. And now we don't have to give him a fully guaranteed contract. Like, it is absolutely collusion. The owners are going to have nothing happen to them because the NFL Players Union is such a joke. Now, if you look at another sport, Major League Baseball, the pendulum is like the entire other way, right? The Players Union is so strong, and they came out of the strike in the 90s even stronger, that you could argue it hurts the sport on the other end, right? Like the players, it's too much. And now this stuff which they're doing with Shohei Ohtani, where they're deferring his payment and all this crazy stuff, I don't think it's necessarily good for the sport. But unions are are some good, some bad, some powerful, some not. And it's hard in football because careers are so short and there are so many players. It's so hard to get anything done. But here's step one. Stop hiring bozos. Just if your instinct is to hire a bozo and actually in your background check, it is revealed that this person is indeed a bozo. Don't hire that bozo.
Yeah, what's the purpose of a background check?
Don't hire. There are plenty of other, honestly, qualified people that could take that job. That's a big job. It's a frontward-facing job. It's an important job, and there's plenty of people out there. But this whole screed is to bring me to the WNBA. They have a big labor negotiation currently going on, and this is really important. David and I were talking, we brought up unions a little bit in the 10 o'clock hour, and we were talking about victories that players' unions had in the 70s, 80s, and to a lesser extent, the 90s, that really empowered players to make the kind of money that they are making today. The WNBA is at that point, the 70s and 80s point, where they really need to establish themselves as a union, and they need to get a good deal for their players. And we can talk about how much money the WNBA makes or does not make if we want to go down that road, which I'm perfectly fine with. But the WNBA Players Association, their job is to get the most possible for their players. And right now, their players don't make a lot of money. They don't. They have to play in other leagues in the offseason, which is crazy. They just got private air travel last year. I mean, they're absolutely in where the NBA was in the 70s. It's just how it is. They need, for the players' sake, to have a strong union and to really maximize leverage that they have for the first time in their existence. This might be the only time the WNBA has leverage. And honestly, it's not that much leverage. The WNBA can't afford a work stoppage. They can't. So the leverage that they have has a name. And her name is Caitlin Clark. So let's go to All-Star Weekend, where the WNBA, was this warm-ups or halftime, Christian? Was it halftime? But all the players in the game put on T-shirts that says, "Pay us what you owe us." All right? Making a statement. Pay us what you owe us. All right. Made headlines. We can talk about those headlines in a minute. But then, in postgame, Kelsey Plum of the WNBA talked about those T-shirts. And let's play that clip now.
Well, it was a very powerful moment. We didn't, at least as players, we didn't know that was going to happen. So I think it was kind of like a genuine surprise. But the T-shirt, just United Front, was determined this morning that we had a meeting for. And, not to tattletale, but 0 members of Team Clark were very present for that. But no, we were just we had a very
that really needed to be mentioned.
I'm trying to make a situation light, okay? But yeah, no, I think it was just all of us getting on the same page for the game. We wanted to do something that was just united and collective, and I thought that it was a very powerful moment and got the point across. And sometimes you don't have to say anything.
Oh, you did. Powerful. And nobody from the Clark team was present. Probably because they heard what the slogan was going to be and thought, I want no part of that. Listen, I've got no problem with the players wearing a shirt or the players having a slogan. They're in the middle of collective bargaining negotiations. They don't have a ton of leverage, and so they need public sentiment, and they need that sort of thing to create leverage. The statement, the slogan, "Pay us what you owe us," might be the dumbest slogan they could have come up with, because it leads everybody down the path of, "Oh, well, how's the league doing? Where's the revenue coming from?" All this stuff. And then all of a sudden they create this blowback of, well, the WNBA actually loses money and they don't make any money and it's supplemented by the NBA. And people who don't know the whole story now are all inflamed about the word "owe." Oh, pay us what you owe us. What a dumb slogan that just brings negative attention. Yeah, you getting attention I'm glad it was a special moment for you, but it's negative attention. A better slogan, in my opinion, is just write the word fair. Why do you have to use the word "oh"? Why don't you say, hey, we're out for fairness. We want our fair share of the pie. And then you can go into the television contract that's coming up. And there's a more payday coming for the league because the league is growing. We want fairness. Upcoming collective bargaining agreement. We want fairness because this product is gaining in popularity and is thus gaining in value. And the players want, it's such a better word than "oh." "Oh" sounds like you're the victim of something. I don't think the WNBA players are the victim of something. I think that they are players in a union, in a league that is growing. And for the players to argue that they deserve a fair cut of the pie is a much better message to go out than "what do you owe us?" Because a bunch of people that aren't on your side anyway are just going to say, they don't owe you anything, because they don't. Letter of the law, they don't. Your current CBA allots for what you're getting. The NBA, the WNBA, the owners don't owe you anything. Now, if you're making the argument that the players need a more fair share of the pie, that's a legitimate slogan because you can make that argument. Then you're into, okay, what is fair and what is not? Now, what makes... I don't know if this is bozo of the week territory, Christian, you tell me. But what makes Kelsey Plum's take such a bozo one is that the only leverage you have is Caitlin Clark. Why would you publicly discount her in any way? Even if you don't like her or you're jelly or whatever, why would you make the decision to say that publicly? The only reason you have leverage is because of this phenom who is in your league, who is commanding attention and eyeballs and ticket sales. And you may not like it, but it doesn't make it less true. So if you were smart, what are you doing discounting your leverage? That doesn't make any sense. I do not get it. And maybe if the WNBA had a stronger union that thought more about, like playing the game and being unified as opposed to printing T-shirts, maybe they'd be in a better spot. Does that make any sense? I feel bad for the WNBA Players Association because obviously their leadership sucks.
Makes perfect sense. And I'm glad you used the word, by the way, fair and not equal, because when you talk about people who take a stance without knowing exactly what they're talking about, there are a lot of people that are so against this because they're like, the NBA makes way more money than the WNBA. No way they should be paid equal amount as NBA players. That's not what they're asking for. They're not asking to be paid $50 million a year, but they want to be paid a fair amount, which, to your point, which you just laid out, I think that's they have every right to ask that. That's
the point of a union, is to achieve fairness for its members. The messaging on this sucks. If you want to make T-shirts, what message are you getting out there? It's this weird grievance thing. People don't. That doesn't.
It makes you sound entitled.
That
and you're
doesn't
not entitled.
turn right. That doesn't turn people on. That doesn't change hearts and minds. Language like that creates resentment because everybody feels like they're owed something, right? So if you go out there and say, "Oh, you're owed this," you're just leading right into the criticisms that people make because the criticisms aren't necessarily wrong. You know? The WNBA is not nearly as valuable as the NBA. So to say that the contracts should be equal is ludicrous and it's just not how things work. I wish I were paid the same amount as Colin Cowherd, but it's a different platform. It's a different game entirely. And if I walked into my boss's office and said, "I demand this kind of money.
You owe me this money.
You owe me," I would be laughed right out of town. Rightfully so. So it's...
To clarify, and it's not the WNBA players are not asking to be paid equally.
They're not. No.
Players.
We're talking conceptually.
I should clarify that.
We're talking conceptually.
But
conceptually
yes,
speaking.
I guess you could say connotation of owed versus fair, two very different words that could mean similar things in context, but the way that people take it and react to it makes a big difference.
It's all in the messaging. It's all in the messaging. So whoever, I'm glad it was a special moment for Kelsey Plum, but whoever approved those T-shirts is a moron. There's a million different better ways to get your message out there. Nobody faults a union for fighting for more. So how do you do it? And in the case of the WNBA, I guess they're playing the sympathy or we were wronged somehow card, and people don't respond well to that. They just don't. Whether it's true or not, your average person out there doesn't respond all that well to that kind of rhetoric, in my opinion.
And frankly, even more so when it comes to women's sports.
Absolutely. And whether that's fair or not, I guess we could have that argument, but it's reality. And I think the WNBA needs a strong union for the future of its sport. I do. I believe in that. Most people, it's kind of weird when doing this job through several labor disputes. It's interesting to see fans always fall on the side of the owners. And I never really understood why
it's not their money.
Why the owners get all the sympathy in the situation. I never really got that. Because a healthy league depends on healthy players. You grow up wanting to play WNBA basketball, not just because it's the grandest stage, because you hope you're going to make $1 zillion, you know? Christian, you were playing playing hoop on the lowered rim in your front yard as a 10-year-old, pretending you were playing for the Bulls, is not just because you love basketball and that would be a dream because it's the highest level and all this. It's also because, you know what, I'd love to make $30 million a year. The players having a fair share is a big deal in the health of overall sports. I believe that. And the WNBA should fight for the rights of their players, and especially now that they have leverage. But that was a terrible way to do it. And then to bag on her in the press conference after. What are you doing?
Luckily, Sabrina Ionescu was there to kind of help cool some of the flames and be like, hey, you didn't need to say that. But it was still a really weird look.
It'd be like the work stoppage in the mid-'90s for the NBA. It'd be like an NBA player like bagging on Michael Jordan while they're going through. It's like, you may not like Mike, but he's the value in the league right now. He is your leverage. And honestly, if Caitlin Clark, her level of participation in these negotiations is going to matter. If you turn her off and she just goes out looking for number one, well, then you're screwed, which is basically what LeBron James has done in his career. He hasn't done anything for the union or for the players, even during his work stoppage. Didn't do anything, which is Caitlin Clark's right to do, right? She doesn't have to flex her muscle. But her muscle is the only one that matters. So if the rest of the players turn her off and she doesn't participate, they're going to get a worse deal. The only one anyone cares about striking, no offense to the WNBA, is Caitlin Clark. If she threatened to strike, that would move the needle. Not if pretty much any other player. Certainly not Kelsey Plum. So, I don't know. That situation stood out to me. I just don't understand why people make silly decisions. Just fix the messaging. It's not that hard. Hire somebody. All right, stay tuned. More next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.